Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Product Marketing Metrics session of the Product-Led Summit. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can measure your business impact as a product marketing manager. So I'm wondering if many of you have seen a goals document that looks like this, if this is familiar. Ship new messaging to sales, launch our 2 features, write some blog posts. I'm guessing many of you have seen a goals document that looks like this. This is not good, as Ryan Gosling can see here. It's really not a good idea to align yourself to just shipping products or shipping projects as a product marketing manager, and because it doesn't really tie you to what's good quality content and doesn't focus you on what's most important for your business. So today we're going to give you some tips and tricks for how to write better goals and align yourselves to more effective metrics. You're going to learn the project pitfall, why many of us write our goals like this, is just check listing a bunch of different projects and why that's not such a good idea. We're going to talk about focus and how PMMs can actually focus on a lot of different things and why that's both good and bad. And third, we're going to give you some ideas and structure and options and frameworks for how to think about what metrics you should be focusing on in product marketing. In the end, I'm hoping that you get the main point, and I figure I might as well spell it out here. I'm a product marketer, so just gonna give you my main message, and that is to set impactful and measurable goals for product marketing, you must align to a single core business problem, one core business problem. I'm your host, there's me, and I'm here too. I'm Diana Smith, and I lead product marketing here at Segment. Segment's a customer data infrastructure company, and we help startups and enterprises integrate a lot of different tools they might want to use for marketing, analytics, growth, optimization with a single API and a single platform. Feel free to tweet at us if you're enjoying this presentation. So let's dig into it. What are the pitfalls in product marketing around setting goals? You see these little bananas, they're everywhere, we need to avoid them. The number one thing is setting, and around goal setting is talking about projects. We talked about this a little bit. So let's talk about why we do this. Let's do a little psychoanalysis of ourselves. Hello, fellow product marketers. It's tough being us. So number one, cross-functional nature of our work. We work with sales, we work with product, we work with customer success, we work with the rest of the marketing team, we work with a lot of other people to ship things and get things out the door. So it's a lot easier to control, our own step of the journey, whatever we're doing ourselves, and say, hey, I'm going to be responsible for getting that thing out the door. And then, the rest of the team will be responsible for whatever they're responsible for. It's very easy to do. You have more control. Often what we're doing is 2 steps removed from revenue. So, if you're launching a product, that product needs to be, people need to be aware of that product. They need to sign up for that product. They need to buy that product. And that's a few steps away to getting money from whatever it is that you're doing. So oftentimes we don't want to take, raise our hands and sign up for that money metric because it's not directly what we're exactly doing. And lastly, a lot of what we do, we are the messaging people. We are the positioning people. We know and decide how we want to talk about our products, and those can be hard to measure, these writing projects. However, if we do the project pitfall, if we fall into the trap of the projects, you're not going to measure the quality of your work. How good is that messaging? Does it actually resonate with your customers? If all you're saying is, yes, I shipped that messaging, you have no information. It won't focus your team on the most important business problems. And we're going to go back to that one. And thirdly, it won't tie all the effort that you're doing. I'm sure you have a lot on your plate and you're really busy and you're doing work that's probably valuable. But if you're not measuring it and you're not focusing on one thing to move forward with a bunch of different projects in your work, you're not going to be motivated and you're not going to be able to show your team and your company how valuable you've been for them, which is not so good for career development. Oops. So instead, what we want to do as PMMs is focus on a single business problem. If this is hard to do, because product marketers are power players, that's how I like to think of us. We are really valuable at, because we bring to bear, we know about our customers, we know about our products, we know about the market. So we can go as, little SWAT teams and go help solve different problems. So for example, if there's an acquisition challenge your team is facing, your company is facing, you can go help write top of funnel content, think about industry trends, do work around that. If you have a revenue problem, maybe you can look at sales closed analysis and think about why did we win deals, why did we lose deals, and do some work around that. So we can really be valuable in a lot of different ways. We're like the Avengers. I know this slide slipped in before, so it's not a surprise, but the Avengers. I think that the way I think about the people on my team is that they can be deployed to really save the company for different reasons and different areas. But here's the secret. We can't do all of it at once. We can't be helping with product and sales and acquisition and retention all at the same time. We're humans. Even Tony Stark can't be in Paris and Tokyo at the same time. We have to decide where we want to focus our energy and time. And great goals allow you to do that. And they focus on what as a business is your most important thing to tackle. And at different points in time, it might be different. So when I joined Segment about 4.5 years ago, growth was going really well, up and to the right. And so we were focused a bit more on new product development. How do we create new products that are going to generate revenue? So I was focused a little bit more there. Over time, as we've shifted our customer base and we're looking to go up market and sell more to the enterprise, there's a lot more work that has to go on the acquisition side and the messaging and positioning and gathering new, bigger customers. So focus a little bit more there now. And this is fluid. I think that, as product marketing teams, you need to focus on the business and understand actually what's going on. Hopefully you have some data that you can work with to know where to put your team's time. Or your time. I mean, some of you may just be one product marketer, you don't have a team, or maybe you're actually the product manager and you have to do product marketing work as well. That calls for even more focus. So identify your top business challenges. What are the areas that your company is really trying to grow? Focus there and set your PMMs to do the work and say, hey, this is our main goal. How are we going to focus all the effort and all of the content and everything that we're doing to hit this goal? I found this to be very helpful, especially as a manager with my team. If I say, hey, for the next 2 quarters, your number one goal is to use X product line to drive new user acquisition for Segment or to drive new user acquisition for your own product. That's going to focus the team and they're going to do certain types of activities that are different than if retention was the number one issue. Knowing this, you have a few options for what you focus on and what periods of time. And I want to give you really specific metrics that you can work with and tie to your own work. You want to focus your metrics on a few different areas. Number one, the stage of the funnel. We talked about this a little bit. Is it at the top of the funnel? Is it the bottom of the funnel? The product lifecycle stage is another great way to think about when are you going to focus on different metrics. So, are you in the early stage? Are you just doing new product development? You're prototyping, you don't even know what you're going to build yet? Or is your product quite mature that you're working on? And that has a whole different host of challenges to work on. Also, you can slice it by customer segment. Are you really working on focusing on big customers, small customers, this type of role, this type of industry? That also helps to narrow your focus and really move forward on one thing. So if you just think about it, as a individual contributor, if you were responsible for 100 qualified opportunities, this is in the B2B SaaS world, this means a qualified person said to sales, I'm interested in buying your product. That's pretty far down the funnel. So you're going to be helping sales make sure that they know how to sell your content. You are going to care about that being really high quality versus if you had a goal that was higher up in the funnel, like MQLs, for instance. That would be different than if you were focused on revenue or active accounts. You would maybe be doing cross-sell campaigns. You'd be doing lifecycle campaigns. You'd be doing different stuff. And what you do should be deliberate. So be deliberate about it. Pretty straightforward. On to the examples. We talked about acquisition and revenue. This is, especially for growing companies, this is huge. I love to have metrics around tying the leads that have been driven by my content, opportunities and sales are driven by launch, close revenue, by your product line. That's going to give you a lot of ownership around how that product is selling and what marketing activities and sales activities you're doing. These are a bit B2B focused. So if you're B2C, it might be signups, it might be people visiting your page, it might be actual sales of that product. Activation and retention, total net people using your product, percent of customers who sign up, who reach your aha moment. So that's when they do the action or use the feature that's most correlated with them retaining as a customer. That's a great thing to measure and focus on and see if you can move the needle with different activities, or how long it takes to reach that aha moment. With new product development, you can focus on beta customers. You can focus, I love as a PMM, being focused on who is going to give a testimonial, how many people. We've had goals when we're in new product development stages, like 5 people from the beta group willing to give a public testimonial. And that means that you're sourcing actual value that new product is giving. You're sourcing use cases, you're sourcing case studies, and that's going to be really valuable down the line. Another way to think about this, the previous way is thinking, at a company level, what is the most important thing to be doing because the company needs help here. You can also align yourself to the product life cycle. So, what you're doing in the early product development versus when you're sustainment mode will be different. And that's another way you can decide where you're going to focus as a product marketer. Lastly, if you have a bigger team, some of us don't, and a lot of people watching this are early stage startups. Some are mid stage, like Segment. There's product marketing teams that have hundreds of product marketers on them. You can take a more balanced and portfolio style approach the more people you have. I still believe that every person can only focus on one thing and do it really well. But when you have lots of people, you can focus them on different things. So maybe for product lines or per segments, there's different business problems you're having in those, and then you can align your PMMs on those things. Another kind of pro tip is that sometimes when you're creating content for a particular stage of the funnel, let's say, you're creating a guide that's supposed to be at the top of the funnel, that could also be valuable for activation if repurposed in a certain way. So, the work that you do can be repurposed, but it should have a particular goal in mind to start. And now you may be asking yourselves, whoa, I'm not a demand gen person. I am not a growth person. Why are you signing me up to be responsible for these numbers? I don't like the numbers. As a PMM, you are the CMO. If the PM is the CEO, the PMM is the CMO of your product. CMOs have hard metrics. They are responsible for the actual health of the business on the marketing side. And if you own a product line as a product marketer, you are too. So you should feel ownership and want to move those numbers forward. This total number of customers using your product, revenue, any of those good things. And what I'd recommend is partnering really closely with the other teams. We mentioned your step is 2 steps removed from the end metric. Well, who are the people in that line of command and working together and owning a metric together that you all participate in? I believe that my PMM should own, and we own, quality, opportunity and lead numbers for our products together with our demand gen team. And that makes us collaborate way more closely together. The product team also is in on those numbers, so they're getting involved to make sure that they have the right features. It's going to help us close those deals. And it really helps everyone get on the same page and you be more motivated that the work that you're doing is actually creating business value. You're driving an impact. I want to give you a very specific example of a goals document that we've used. The numbers are fake, but the columns and rows are real. So this is looking at a new product launch that was a product that was helpful for both new users and existing users. That was sales driven, so they had to talk to a salesperson to actually buy this product. And you can see here we have qualified opportunities. So I was talking about that before. That is a pretty down funnel sales metric of people who are really excited and willing to buy and are qualified to buy. They have enough money, all that good stuff. So we have qualified opportunity metrics for net new customers. For expansion customers, we have a closed revenue metric that PMM signed up for. So that means they're going to be in there with sales. And then we have the leading indicators on the right. So press mentions, webinars and event registrations, campaign views, these are all leading up to those higher, basically more valuable metrics. And the other thing we really like to do, I'd recommend, is be very clear on buckets of how happy you're going to be with your results. makes the expectations completely clear. What is like, we kind of missed the mark on this thing, versus I'm really happy with what we did, versus this was insane. This blew out all of our expectations. And I love to have buckets for each of those, because then you can really place yourself on a map and be like, this is how we ended up, and let's review and see how we can improve for next time. I definitely recommend you guys doing this. And for my teams, it's driven a lot of impact and ownership. So the PMMs who run these campaigns and launches really feel responsible for that, the value that we're bringing to business and the dollars and cents associated with their products, which is really awesome. Now, I won't say everything is all butterflies and rainbows. There's definitely some pros and cons of this approach. And I want to walk you through what those are and how you can try to address them. So number one is that changing your focus too frequently can be a problem. So, every quarter, for instance, your scope can get really big if you have done acquisition stuff, activation stuff, retention stuff. Then everything's your problem. Things go wrong. People are like, hey, PMM, like, go fix that thing. And you're like, I'm not focused on that right now, but you were recently, so they think you still are. And that's why I'd recommend at least for half of a year to try to focus on the same thing, ideally. It also gets hard to set expectations for what you own as a product marketer. What can the product team, what can the sales team expect from you if you're constantly changing around what you're doing? And also, if you're really focused on acquisition, for example, and you make that clear, then you leave room for other teams to pick up other metrics. So maybe the success team's like, I'm going to own activation or retention. That's actually a good thing. But if you constantly change what you're doing, then other people can't have their own ownership. It's coming in here. Next, maybe if you're at a very small company, you actually have to do everything. A lot of things are important. And this was true in some of the early days of Segment. But even if that is true, try to assign, if you do a bunch of different projects, each project should have a metric associated with it that is at the appropriate level of the funnel. Next, we did mention early days in the early parts of this presentation that there's some projects that we do around messaging or positioning that are kind of hard to measure, or we don't really know exactly how to measure. So I want to explain to you, give some ideas for how you could actually measure some common projects that come up in product marketing. So for example, shipping new messaging. If you want to understand, is that messaging good? Is it working? A place that's probably going to show up is the homepage. And you can look at the conversion rates. Is that improving? If you have to train the sales team on a new product or something competitive, whatever it is that you have to train the sales team on, can you give them a survey and ask them, what's the quality score? Are you prepared to talk about this topic? You're giving yourself some indication of what was the quality of that thing that I did. If you're renaming a product, this one's kind of hard. How do you measure if that went well? One thing that I like to see is everyone in the company using that product name? Because if they're not, probably means it wasn't a great name. It's not as good as whatever code name you were using before if they're still using that code name. But if they're starting to use it, it's good news. So there are creative ways to think about how you measure what you're doing as a product marketer. There's a lot of cool tools out there that actually allow you to tie your content, even if it's not downloadable content on the website, but just sales collateral to deals, and see if they've been associated with deals in the funnel. And that's a pretty awesome way to see, hey, these pieces of collateral that I wrote, these case studies were used in these top deals that closed. Also, we mentioned the testimonial idea, where if you're in the early stages of a product development, if you own how many testimonials can be secured, that's a great thing to show the value that product is actually hitting product market fit. So with all that information, we learned the pitfalls of project-based approach. We learned how we can focus on a lot of things because we're good at a lot of stuff, but we should just pick one thing to focus on. And we learned some options for what we can focus on. Hopefully at the end of the day, you're coming away with the main point that to set impactful and measurable goals, you should align to a single core business problem. Hope that was helpful for you. And, just to share a personal story, when I was early on at Segment and I was doing all of marketing, one of the reasons that I shifted into product marketing was because I got really stressed out about being the person who was responsible for our growth. about, being that person who's like, signups need to be growing month over month, quarter over quarter. Like, how is that, up and to the right metric going? And so I liked product marketing because it felt very strategic. It's working with my customers, working with product, working with sales, and you get to, take your knowledge of all those different things and come up with strategy and marketing strategy, which was really interesting to me. But at the end of the day, if what you create as a PMM doesn't actually help you hit those sign-up goals, doesn't help you hit those metrics, what you're doing isn't valuable. And I learned over time that tying my work, even if I'm not in demand gen, together with my demand gen counterparts and peers really was more motivating for all of us, and wasn't so scary after all if we focused and decided this is the most important thing. I'm going to knock this thing out of the park. With this information, hopefully you're running off to hit your goals. You know what you need to do. You're going to be focused, and I hope that you can take this into your own companies and help show the impact that you're really driving as a product marketing person. Thanks again. I'm Diana Smith, and I lead product marketing at Segment. We can help you out if you're interested in getting better handle on your analytics and your data, of integrating new tools for marketing automation, A/B testing, live chat, what have you. And we're actually about to launch a new program for startups. So get in touch with me if you are an early stage startup and you're maybe interested in getting some free Segment. We'll be offering a program for folks with under $5 million in funding. We're happy to help you out and give you some customer data infrastructure to work with. Thanks again, and have a great day.